Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on Unlocking Life, where we dig deep to get to know the person behind the business. Before we get started, we just want to remind you to watch until the very end. We're doing a secret word contest, and you'll have a chance to win a Treehouse Cafe gift card.
Yeah. I'm Echo with Life Ep1.
And I'm Mindy with Relationships Unlocked. Let us introduce our first guest, Jean Walton.
Yay, Jean.
So what do you want us to know about you? Tell us the what and the why of what you do.
You know, what's funny is I tell this story all the time. I tell it differently all the time. To dumb it down, as I've been doing lately, I organize community events and I showcase women-owned businesses. And you have both worked with me, so you're familiar with that format. But a lot of people say that they don't understand what I do. And really, I have a passion for supporting small business, especially women, and providing something in the community that is special and unique and creates amazing memories. And so when I created my format, that's where I started with, and I've just built it from there. So I do community events. I do a market at my shop every Saturday. I do a couple of productions throughout the year. I have my upcoming fashion show next month and my theater production in September, but all centered around elevating women and giving them a platform where they can tell their story and be heard and be celebrated, and something fun for the community to come to. So everything I do is based on that. I also do book publishing, and I started my own publishing company because people kept telling me I needed to write a book based on all the things that I do and all the adventures I go on. And so I did, but I invited people to be in the book with me. The first book was Everyday Girl Adventures, and I learned a lot. My business partner, Jamie, we learned a lot, and we wanted to share what we learned with others. And so we published 11 books now in the last 2 years.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Very, very cool. And then what other things you said you post events?
So I opened up my own storefront, and I always had a dream that I was going to own a boutique because I was in retail for about 20 years and started doing events instead. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm not going to have a boutique. I'm just going to organize events, and then things land where they do, and right place, right time, sometimes wrong place, right time. But so I ended up into a couple of spaces, but now I have a storefront in Old Colorado City, and I host a vendor market every Saturday and first Friday during the Art Walk to showcase women businesses and invite the community in, on top of a couple of productions that I do throughout the year, the Celebrate Her Fashion Show and Misfit Monologues Theater.
That's great. I love it. The fashion show and the monologue thing they're just so much fun.
And they're fun. I mean, that's really
so
the key to everything I do.
So today our topic is anti-resolutions, and let's go ahead and unlock 55 seconds of science. So first, so we're all on the same page, the definition of a resolution is a statement of desirable objective that you want to accomplish. Can we all agree with that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so if we talk about the science behind resolutions, when you set a goal, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical that drives motivation and reward. What researchers are finding is that dopamine isn't just tied to the actual achievement. It's released during the pursuit of the goal, which means progress itself is biologically reinforcing. But they don't actually work the way in which we expect. Many people fall into false hope syndrome, which is setting goals that are unrealistic or too ambitious. And even with all the apps and trackers and online groups, too much input and technology creates too much pressure and comparison instead of clarity about what we want. So we see there's a physiological pattern we see. Human performance naturally drops between 30 and 45 days after setting a goal. So people go into the gym, and then in February they quit going. It's not a lack of willpower. It's actually a predictable decline in cognitive and emotional resources when our effort, and this new effort, is not supported by recovery. So what else I learned is people are much more successful with approach-oriented goals, saying, I want to start eating healthy, versus avoidance goals like I'm going to not eat any more junk food. One study showed 59% of people with approach goals succeeded compared to 47% trying to quit something. So you definitely want that positive forward. 66% of adults ages 18 to 29 make resolutions, and 28% of adults over 65 make resolutions. So the older we get, the less likely we are to make a resolution. And last but not least, some things that successful entrepreneurs are resolving to do differently this year. Lean into what makes you different. Get intentional about your habits. Prioritize self-care without guilt. And experiment often and fail fast. So just some fun facts about resolutions happening right now. Mindy, why don't you help us unlock this a little bit through a relationship lens?
Thanks, Echo. So we're going to unlock this from a self-care perspective. You've heard the phrase, new year, new me, right? Well, how about new year, same me? I'm just going to love her a little bit more, because guess what? There's nothing wrong with the old me. and there's nothing wrong with the old you. Do we want to make improvements? Sure. Do we need to? Absolutely not. So I challenge you today to take a long look at yourself and decide if you feel you need to make improvements or if you just need to love yourself more. So how do you feel about New Year's resolutions? Comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay, Jean, are you ready? We're excited for you to share your thoughts about New Year's resolutions.
I'm in the hot seat now.
Yeah. Da-da-da-da. Okay, Jean, please share with us. Do you have a routine or a ritual that you do that helps sustain your happiness?
Yes. I remind myself in moments of sadness or doubt or a bad day, we all have them. I give myself those few minutes to be upset, to be sad, to cry, whatever. And then I dust myself off and say, I must move on. How am I going to fix this? How am I going to problem solve this? Because you can't dwell in that. And we've all been alive as long as we have. And we've been alive because we've gotten through every single day. And we get to choose how we get through that day, no matter what life throws at us. And so for me, I figure if something is not fun or all the bad things happen in a day, I make it funny. And I'm like, what else could happen? And then I begin to laugh about it. And so for me, that's kind of how I maintain a happy outlook, is because not everything is fun. Not every day is wonderful. We all have a lot of things that happen to us, but most things make a really good story. And then if you think about what that's going to look like in the future, you can try to laugh about it now. And so that's what I do, is like when it keeps me positive, because I know that there's always going to be something positive to look forward to eventually. Maybe not today, maybe not even tomorrow, but we all have really good days that we forget about the bad days. And so that's something that I try to not dwell in the hard moments too long. We all have them, and I do. Like I tell people all the time, I'm not just happy all the time, but I remind myself to be, because there are always blessings to be thankful for. And that is where I go, okay, this might be going wrong, but what are all the things that are going right? And so if you take the focus off the negative and put it on the positive, that just really changes your mood, your outlook, and your overall happiness.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I completely agree. It's really easy to just be like, oh, this bad thing, and then you forget about the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like with your kids growing up, they're like, well, all you ever tell me about is the bad things I did. You know, it's like,
Well, and it's true. And I remember my kids telling me that too, like, you never say this or you never do that. And I'm
yeah,
like,
you never say the good. You never bring up the good stuff. So yeah,
Since we're too close to it, give us some more years and it'll be funny.
exactly. Yeah, and then we'll joke about it. We'll sit around the table. It'll all be one big funny story.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's awesome.
So Jean, I hear a recipe. You allow feelings, then you take action, and you add some humor.
yes.
Is that a fair?
That is
Okay.
100% true.
Okay.
We can't
I
take
love
ourselves
it.
too seriously. I always say this thing, I'd rather be laughing than crying. And because in a lot of moments, you have the choice to do either.
That's a good reminder.
Yep, absolutely. And it's easy. Like we said before, it's easy to think about the bad stuff. It's harder to think about the good stuff, but we really need to focus on the good. Absolutely. So just leading into the next question, in your relationship with yourself, how much of your self-care routine is infused into your professional life? I lied. I'm sorry.
Everything. Because my career that I've created is based on saying yes, doing fun things, and making memories. And so in order to do that, you have to take time for yourself. You have to prioritize yourself. And the reason why all of this started many years ago, I think back to when I was probably a teenager. If I was going to have FOMO about something, I made sure that I did my darndest to make sure I got to do it, because I knew what the feelings were like when you missed out. And so that's something I've always reminded myself. That's why everybody thinks I have all this energy and I have all this motivation. That's not true. I have major FOMO. And so if I think I'm going to regret not doing something, that is all the motivation I need to make myself do it. My mom has a saying. She says, I can sleep when I'm dead. And so it's kind of that mentality, sacrificing the rest sometimes for the fun, because sometimes that's better for you even than having a moment where you're like laying around at home. And a lot of those times when you're not motivated and you're not doing anything that's not bettering yourself, it pulls you deeper into sadness and depression. And at least when you're being productive with your time, you can never be regretful of that. So even if you're tired. And so those are the things that I kind of bring together is, am I going to regret not doing this? And so if the answer is yes, then I'm really glad I did it, afterwards.
So the last 100 things you've done, whether attended maybe or put on. Think back. I don't know how many you do in a month, but of the last 100, how many would you say you regretted, like being like, I could have missed that and been fine?
Or not even regretted, but you know.
Well, there are some things that I was like, this was kind of a waste of my time. So I will agree with that, because time and money are the two things that we have. We can get money back. We cannot get time back. And so for me, if I feel like I did something, and there's a lot of networking events that I stopped going to because I felt like, am I really getting value out of this? Am I really getting the exposure and the connections as much as some of these other ones? And so I started prioritizing more of the women events because that is my market. And I noticed I didn't have to show my face at everything anymore. I didn't have to, because everybody's doing it, I don't have to do it too. I can stay home and make dinner, and and so for me,
Play with the cat.
and have coffee with the cat in the morning.
So much.
But I mean, that's me making an adventure out of mundane things and regular things. I've always done that to celebrate any moment, because it makes it more fun and it makes it more enjoyable. And if you can't do that with something, then you shouldn't be doing it. And that is what so yes, I organize my own events, and I do a lot of things, and I try to show up for everybody when I can, but I stopped doing that too because I can't show up to everything. And I started giving myself a break on that, because it is, if I make a commitment, I will do it. But if I'm like, I want to do this and I don't really feel like it, I give myself a break now. And I'm like,
and grace.
Yeah, because
grace.
We don't need to do everything, because it is our life, it's our time, and we'll never get that back.
One last question. How do you balance ambition with contentment?
Well, sometimes they go hand in hand with what I do, because adventures and events and anything that you accomplish, you feel good when you've done it, when you've gotten over that hump. The motivation to do it is really hard sometimes. For me, I can put all of my time and effort into something and it still not go the way that I wanted it to go. And so again, I go back to that moment where I allow myself, man, that sucks. This didn't go the way I wanted to. Like, why didn't people show up? Or why, why did this not come out as my vision? And then after 5 minutes or even time to sleep on it, I wake up the next day and I'm like, but there's a reason I'm doing this. And then I, again, remind myself of all the blessings, the positives, the one or two people that did show up and how I impacted them. And that really does impact my ambition and motivation to keep going. I actually was speaking with a woman today that said, man, I really wish I had all your energy. And I was like, I don't really have energy. It's what I have is I am stubborn. And so if I commit myself to doing something, I make sure I do it as long as it takes. As they say, you get a lot of no's before you get a yes. And that's something, growing up in a family of artists and musicians, it's something I've seen firsthand with the people I know. And so, and I've always been good at pep talks for other people. So I have to remind myself to do that for me too.
And I think it's something you have to want to do too. Like, just because you made a commitment to something, don't commit to something that you really don't want to do. And that's, I think, you talk about FOMO, and
well, you have to learn to start saying no.
Exactly. But then you talked about, giving yourself that grace and that break. And it's like, well, finding that balance between FOMO and, do I really need to do this?
and a lot of things that you think you're going to have FOMO for, after a while you realize you could have spent your time better. You could have been doing something that was more enjoyable.
Definitely.
And so that's where I started teaching myself how to say no too.
I saw someone recently give some really good advice that said, say no every time. May that be your first instinct, because it's so much easier to go back and say, oh, wait a minute, I cleared my calendar, or I thought about this and I actually do.
Well, this is one of my mantras.
Okay.
If it's not a yes, it's a no. If it's not a no, it's a yes. And so whatever your first inclination is, go with that gut feeling. Because if it's not a yes, then why, if your first thought isn't to say, yes, I want that, I want to do that, then why should you be doing it?
Unless you're somebody like me that is very impulsive. And so I actually have to teach myself how to rein it in, because I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And then the next day I'm like, what was I thinking? So I have to be careful.
Well, we all have moments of that, I think, in excitement and creative people in brainstorming conversations. I have a tendency of doing that as well, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Or if you're a people pleaser, like I'll be
too.
like, oh, I don't want you to be mad, and I want to help you out, I don't want to disappoint you. Okay, yes, yeah. That could be a whole show topic.
I completely relate to that.
I mean, and it's true. People pleasers for sure. It is. It just tears you apart to disappoint somebody. And so you do end up doing things that you don't necessarily want to do. sacrifice your happiness for theirs.
Or you're afraid of confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be me. So I'm like, I'd rather make myself miserable than be miserable confronting somebody or something, even if it's not going to be confrontational. My head thinks it's gonna. So
well, we do that. We create these scenarios in our head that sometimes never even happen.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, most of the
anxiety,
time it never
and I'm a
happens.
big procrastinator, so that's why I know this.
Yes.
Such a waste of mental energy when they
Right.
do that
It is.
too.
You're like, that's 30 seconds I'm never getting back.
Because then when you go and you actually do it and you get over that hump and you're like, oh, that was easier than I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be. And I wasted all this energy
Right.
being worried and scared
Stressed.
about what was
Wasted
going to
all the
happen, and
time.
nothing happened.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, so the last little bit here for you, Jean, is well, actually, it's not true because there's something else later, but we'll get to that. But what is one important thing you want us and the listeners to take away from or learn from your story?
I want people to, well, something that I hear all the time is that I inspire people, and sometimes that's just crazy to me because I'm like, I'm nobody special. I'm just like everybody else. But that's my hope, and so that part is coming true, and I'm overjoyed that my message of saying yes, of putting yourself out there, even being a misfit, that's one of my brands, making a fool out of yourself, make it funny, make fun of yourself, make it a fun memory, but also give yourself permission to be a misfit, to make mistakes. And I do all the time in front of people on stage. But that was the superpower that I created for myself when I came up with the Misfit brand, because I felt out of place. I felt like I didn't belong in these business circles. I started identifying as a misfit, and when I would talk about it, other people would say that they identified as a misfit. And I realized that was really something powerful to come together and say it's okay. It's okay to be a misfit. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to make mistakes. And you know what? We're all human and we do it. And so we don't have to be perfect. There's a lot of that out there. And working in retail for a lot of years, I've seen this turn in marketing as well. Like, you don't see these perfect people anymore on the posters and the flyers and things like that. You see real people. And that's because a lot of the marketing companies and big corporations have figured this out too, that people want what's relatable. They want to see their story in something.
Absolutely.
And so for me, that's what keeps me going and keeps me from getting too embarrassed when I say things that I used to. I used to get embarrassed. I used to cringe and, oh my God, why did I do that? Why did I behave that way? And now I'm like, somebody out there is just like me. And if I can reach those people and inspire them that they can do things that they don't think that they can do. I mean, I'm going to be 50 this year.
Same.
Oh, are we all the same age?
Yeah.
And so, most
let's
people...
party.
Who's oldest? I'm June.
May.
Oh, I'm also May.
May what?
10.
Oh, you're slightly before me, 26.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm
Memorial
a
Day
baby.
weekend. But
I'm the
I didn't realize
senior.
we were all the same age, but
That's
that's
awesome.
fun.
I love that so much.
But what's fun about that too is people don't know that. Like, they don't look at you anymore. I feel like, especially when you embrace that youthful mentality and fun. People tell me all the time, what? No way, I would never believe that. But I used to dread the milestone birthdays, 30. I wasn't excited about 30,
Love my birthday.
but I was young and I didn't look 30. And so 40, I wasn't happy because you're getting older. You can never reverse the clock. You get gray hair, you get wrinkles, can't reverse that. But what I do is and that's part of what the inspiration behind everything I do was. It kind of started with my birthday. I'm like, I don't want to ever dread my birthday. So I'm going to do something fun. So I throw myself a party every year. People tell me, you have the most fun birthday. And I'm like, I know, because I plan it.
I'm doing a big party this year. I'm so excited.
I think I'm going on a cruise. I've never been on a cruise. I usually go on a trip.
You're going to love it.
But that's something different I've never done. So I think that's what I'm doing with some friends and my sisters. But that's what I do. So if you have something that you're dreading, make it fun.
Absolutely.
I like it.
All right.
All right, guys.
So-
Let's see. All right, if you're listening or watching, we're just open to comments. Drop them below. Any thoughts you have about anti-resolutions or New Year's resolutions or being a misfit, right? We want to hear it. Yeah, great.
That's awesome. I love that expression. And it's Miss MISS.
Yes,
Because
and
you're
it's-
all about the woman thing.
Exactly, because I started Everyday Girl Adventures and I already had the women's platform. So when I was networking and I came up with somebody needs to create a group for misfit entrepreneurs, not knowing it was going to be me, it just made sense to make it woman focused because that's already what my platform was. And so I decided Misfit was going to have 2 S's and be where every miss fits.
Perfect. Creative. A lot of creative.
Now we have time for one more thing before we wrap up. The hat question. So
Am
this
I going to
is
use the no?
possibly
You might,
want
we'll
to.
see.
So this is where we'll have you pull a random question out of our hat. This question will either be about relationships or happiness.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
There's a lot of questions there. What's the biggest lesson a relationship ever taught you?
Oh.
Wow. That's a really broad, open-ended one a little bit, just because I come from a large family. I have 9 siblings. I have 5 brothers, 4 sisters. I was married for a lot of years, so we'll go with the taboo, I guess. I was married for a lot of years, and it was not the best marriage, but I did learn about my independence and who I was. My kids, you know, when they were young, I felt like I felt like motherhood defined me, and being married defined me. My ex-husband is retired Air Force, so I was a military spouse, and so I didn't know who I was, but something I will give him credit for was he was always really supportive of me going on trips and doing the things that I wanted to do that were independent.
Nice.
And so even though ultimately my marriage didn't work out, I really feel like he gave me a lot of support that I needed to become who I am today. And then, of course, when I got my divorce, I learned even more who I was before the relationship ended and who I am now. And ultimately, I'm the same person, but I used a lot of excuses in my relationship about why I couldn't do things or who I thought I needed to be. And so I think for me, we can use a relationship as a crutch sometimes and an excuse to not put ourselves out there, not go after our dreams, and blame somebody when a lot of the times the blame is on ourselves. So that's something I learned through that time. And so people always ask me, when I talk about it, they're like, well, how are you friendly? You know, how can you guys be friendly now if you went through all of those things? And I'm like, well, I don't dwell though.
Yeah.
And I realized that part of the blame was on me. And a lot of marriages, when they break up, they want to blame the other person for everything that happened.
Sure.
And but there's 2 people in a relationship. And I think that when we learned that we have to take accountability for our decisions and the things that we decided to put in or not put in, we're equally accountable to that. And so that's something I learned getting out of the marriage, is that I used all those excuses in my relationship with my husband at the time. But then when I became on my own, there was no one else to blame for my own decisions.
Yep,
So.
absolutely. Wow, really great answer.
Yeah, thanks,
Love that.
Jean. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, thanks, listeners, and Jean, for joining us on Unlocking Life. Remember, happiness grows when we share it, and relationships thrive when we nurture them. Before we sign off, Mindy, tell us what's happening at Relationships Unlocked these days.
Relationships Unlocked is just working on getting some clients, things like that. I am going to be doing, or not doing, because that is not going to happen. You will not see me on a runway, but I will be a vendor at Jean's Celebrate Her fashion show next month.
Celebrating yourself and your business.
Yes, that's what I will be doing. And it's a lot of fun. It's a really great experience. So if you guys want a super fun thing to do, you definitely need to go to that event. But yeah, that's what we're doing.
Awesome.
How about you, Echo? What's going on with Life Ep1?
Life of Echo is getting ready to present next month at the Colorado Emergency Management Association. We're going to be talking about the body's physiological response to crisis and how you can quickly move past it. So that'll be exciting. And then we've got a book release coming. I'll probably announce more about that next show, but we want to be keeping on Misfit Publishing for that coming this spring too. So I'm in editing, and I don't like editing. I just want it to be done, and I want like really big pieces of paper printed out on all my walls, but it's much too long to do that. So yeah. So we'll get through.
I'm
I
doing
always say editing is a beast.
Yeah.
Okay.
My thing is content. They're like, this is good, but you need more.
Oh.
So yeah.
You just have to elaborate. You just do the outline, and then you go back and you add all the details. I know it sounds simpler than it is, but
Yeah.
And you wake up at 2 a.m. and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to
I
add that, do that.
thought of that.
Yeah.
Love that so much. Well, everybody, tune in for February's episode, where we're going to be talking about the other 364 effing days.
Yeah.
Until then, keep unlocking the life you love, one story at a time.
Big shout out to Kai and PPLD for helping us out today. One more thing, the secret word. I'll give you a hint. Today's secret word to win a gift card to Treehouse Cafe. It has to do with names. Put your answer in the comments. Until next time, guys. Bye.